The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Good afternoon and welcome to Chit Chatting with Jocelyn. I'm your guest, Jocelyn, and I'm so glad to have you join me today. We have a fabulous show ahead for you. We're going to break it into two halves because it's so much information and you're definitely going to need to go get a cup of coffee and a donut or something so that you can come back and watch the second half and really understand what this absolutely terrific guest I have today has to say. This is a gentleman you all know, and if you don't, you need to find out all about him. Has served our country for 10 tours. He is running for Senate in the state of New Hampshire, and he brought his good friend and my friend, Mr. I forgot his name again.
Victor.
It's Victor. I was thinking Hunter. Victor. So he's going to be saying hi. Hello, darling. See? Isn't he beautiful? Hi, sweetie. You knew I forgot, didn't you? Oh, we have to get a little bum run here. So there you go, sweetie pie. I love my puppy. Hey, you puppy. Yeah, go to daddy. So, yes, we love puppies here, and service dogs are our special treat to have here, especially Mr. Victor. So I want to welcome to the show General Don Bolduc. Hi, sweetie. And we're going to start and dive right in. He's going to tell us why he's running, what he's running for, and then we're going to dive right into the biggest worry that's going on right now in our country, in the world, just what the heck is going on, but we're going to do Ukraine-Russia 101 so people like me can really understand it and don't feel that we're being blown away by the media out there, their spin, what they want us to hear, what they don't want us to hear, because you are one of the most experienced people that could speak on this. So welcome.
Well, it's great to be here, Jocelyn. I really appreciate it. And I think this is, my second time?
Yes, it is.
And so thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. So talk to us about this administration and the huge difference from the previous administration. Obviously, we have two commanders-in-chief that are diametrically opposite, that rule from different positions, that positions of strength, and that's putting it lightly, that have totally different ways of communicating with leaders around the world, what their foreign policy is, what their domestic policy is, and what we are looking at this time is a clash of the two. I don't know what to think of it, and I don't think a lot of my fellow citizens, Americans, New Hampshire people, know what to think of this. We're patriots. It's America first. Lead with strength. Help the world. But we're not seeing that, are we?
No, we're not seeing it, and I think we've abandoned probably three principles that have developed over time in this country on the political side of things. And one is, the idea of peace through strength, right? Whether it's the diplomatic, informational, military, economic, we have to have peace through strength. So we have to be strong economically, we have to be strong militarily, we have to have a strong information architecture that is protected and that we can get our message out and we are able to influence people, particularly at the policy and strategic level, and keep people informed through trust and transparency. That's gone away. And then we have this idea of diplomacy that has developed from the real politic, right? Talking to people like they're grown-ups, telling people the truth, right? To the ideological politic, which is okay, because in the ideological side of things, there are some things you want to aspire to.
Like peace.
But yeah, but we have used the ideological to, to indoctrinate, right? And we've lost that diplomatic force that this country has had in the past. So we lose peace through strength. We're also not able to come together to solve problems. So the JFK model of this isn't a Republican problem, this isn't a Democrat problem, this is an American problem.
Correct.
And then the idea of putting America first, which is what President Trump tried to do, right? That was always something that was foremost in his mind, whether he was doing domestic policy or whether he was doing foreign policy. And then you couple that with what do we want our leaders to be able to do? Well, we want them to inspire us, right? So that means they have to be part of something that is bigger than themselves, and they have to transcend these political boundaries that keep people inside certain cylinders and don't allow you to be able to coordinate or collaborate or do things together that allows this country to become the best it can possibly be.
Right.
Right? And the other thing, they got to build confidence, right? They have to be confidence builders, right? And the best way to build confidence is through honesty, is through leading by example, is through telling people the truth, right? We have become a society where truth-telling has been replaced by lying.
Yep.
And we're not talking about white lies.
No, we're talking about...
We're talking about big
We're
lies.
talking about hairbrush lies.
Yes, exactly. These are huge
Grandma
lies,
used to do, yeah.
Right? And so we want them to inspire, we want them to build confidence, and then they have to demonstrate a certain strength of character and integrity, a certain moral strength.
A backbone.
Where doing the right thing is more important than anything else.
I agree.
And what we find ourselves in, and we find ourselves in this position where career politicians, a divisive political process where nobody can come together and do anything, and a special interest-driven political elite that are controlling everything. And it's been over the last 50 or 60 years where we've done really three things really bad. We have removed God from the public square.
Correct.
The presence of God, however you express God, however you internalize God, whatever religion, because that's what our founding fathers protected. It protected your ability to be able to practice your religion as you see fit, not as the government sees fit. Protect you from the government. And so, but the government has removed God from the public square, so we don't have this constant reminder of our values.
Correct.
Right? That document, the Declaration of Independence, codifies, it not only frees us from the tyranny of the British back in 1776, but it also said God gives us our rights, and it's up to men and women to protect those rights.
Correct.
So that we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's
property.
what it's all about, right? And so we've lost all of that.
Correct.
And as a result of changing that and removing God, we've undermined our family structure and the importance of that family. And we've done it through governmental engineering, where the government has become more important than we the people.
Correct.
In this bottom-up idea of the way we govern ourselves, from the bottom up, right, has gone away.
Correct.
Right? And the government of the people, by the people, and for the people has gone away. And so this wonderful foundation that builds on everything else, because nobody builds a house from the top down, we build it from the bottom up, is mushy, right? We walk on it and it's mushy. And we gotta solidify that again. And we gotta solidify it by going back to what's important. Public service, serving the people, not serving politicians, not serving an establishment, not serving political elite, not serving the almighty dollar, but serving God, serving family inside our community, where we bring everything together to make our country strong.
God, family, and country.
God, family, community, country.
Yep.
Right? Now, we've undermined education for a very, very long time.
Oh, yeah.
From the time that we started the Department of Education till now, we have seen a drop
Correct.
in our public education.
Which, oh, by the way, the Department of Education is unconstitutional.
Well, there are probably a lot of things that are unconstitutional that we've built institution-wise that the government had no business doing anyways.
Correct.
Because it's not...
Should have stayed in the states.
It's not an enumerated power.
Correct.
Right? So the federal government is in every kind of stuff. And this is what we end up. So we got a president now that doesn't inspire,
No.
doesn't build confidence, doesn't show strength. He needed to do those three things in Europe last week, and he didn't do it.
No, he didn't.
He did the exact opposite, right?
Yep.
And so by doing the exact opposite, he left the world
Saying-
with this idea that,
They don't
America
care. What are
isn't
they
what
doing?
it used
Yeah,
to be.
exactly.
Right? So elections do have consequences. And people may not have liked President Trump's personality. They may not have liked mean tweets. But at the end of the day, he did
Nobody
the right
messed
thing
with
for
us.
America,
Yep.
both domestically and in the foreign arena, right? And gets me to this point.
Right. Well,
National security.
Aren't those kind of two strong foundations of
Yes.
what you're talking
well,
about?
They're pillars,
Yeah.
right? And they're connected, right? And so you got these pillars that are connected, and you can't separate them without hurting Americans either at home or abroad. They're connected. And it's a hard thing to explain to people, but I try to explain it this way. We have this imbalance in the homeland. We have opened our borders. We have bad immigration policy. It's caused the opioid crisis to explode, crime to explode, human trafficking,
Yep.
other illicit activities.
Oh, yeah.
Look at crime, look at law and order, look at the attacks on our police, writ large, unnecessary. Look what we've done to family institutions and the constant attack and barrage on
Correct.
that. And the idea that the government can solve all your problems for you now, right? Because the government has created these problems,
Right.
right? And now they're going to give you a solution by controlling you. And so we have a homeland that has no cybersecurity.
Correct.
Its supply chain is broken.
Correct.
Its energy policy is broken. We have dependency now.
On foreign.
And we
Yep.
got a plan that was briefed today that's absolutely broken and will lead to
that was
a
scary.
worse outcome.
Yep.
And and we have, paying more for gas, paying more for food, and so
If we can even get the food, because the farmers are unable to plant their crops.
That's exactly right.
Fertilizer, we get from abroad.
Yeah.
We're going to have to figure out like the Americans always do, if we're allowed to. If we're allowed to, and that's very an important fact, to fertilize their crops. We're going to have to go back to the manures and all the other things. But the problem with the crops is the GMO. In across the world, GMO has been banned.
Right.
They don't allow that. But in America, it's embraced, and now we've got, if the DNA shows up in the crop next to the farmer that was using GMO because he's forced to buy those seeds, and it shows up in the other one, they make that other farmer plow under the field. So we don't have the sources right now.
Our priorities have got screwed up, right? The people that plant the food, the people that grow the food, the people that take care of the meat industry, the people that deliver it, the truckers. All parts of this are under attack for
Correct.
a reason, right? And it's control, because they want you to look up. All of these politicians, and I'd say it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well,
Absolutely.
want that kind of control, and it's weak in the homeland. So you got a weak homeland. And you got Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, violent extremist organizations all looking into America going, look, they're causing themselves problems, and now they're not even able to recognize they're causing their own problems.
Correct.
And they're not even going about fixing it. Couple that with weakness abroad. Couple that with not reacting to Putin's warnings a year ago and putting stops in front of him. The idea that a deterrence isn't a deterrence if you use it, it makes no sense. I explain it like this. I'm a father. My wife and I raised 3 boys, and we did it with deterrence, right? We had rules. Boom, 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 boom.
You do this, this is going to happen, and you follow
There
through.
it's a deterrent, right? It is a stated rule
Yep.
with a consequence,
Yep.
right? Boom, boom. And when they tripped that wire, the consequence kicked in, and they realized, well, I better not do that
That
again.
again, exactly.
Deterrence, right? And then you have the other thing, where you're a parent that is observing what your children are doing, right? And you see them heading in this direction, and you throw a deterrent out there to stop them from going in that direction,
Right.
right? Well, it's easy to me. It's just like a child. You raise a child using deterrence, right? And other things, of course. But at the end of the day, if you want to modify behavior, you either have to have a deterrent where there's a consequence. But too many times, we throw that deterrent out there and we don't do anything.
Correct.
Or we threaten, right? Or we send a strong letter of protest. Or we go nana nana boo boo like we're on the playground or something, and it doesn't work.
Nope.
And you do that over and over and over again, and then they realize,
They don't really mean
these
it.
guys aren't, we're going to call their bluff every single time.
Exactly.
And that's where this administration is sat, because it's an administration that the world is too well acquainted with through the Obama administration.
Yes.
It's just the same
a
people
repeat.
elevated to the next levels of, wow, incompetence. The entire Biden administration can't be trusted, is ineffective, and is not getting the job done. How? I wish it was the opposite. I wish I could sit here and say, wow, we didn't miss a beat. New administration came in, bam, 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 bam.
We're on
It's
the same
moving.
road.
We're on
Yep.
the same road. This is great. Because at the end of the day, we want our president to be successful. However, he has made all these decisions and all these executive orders, all the opposite of what was done before, and we got a worse result.
Correct.
Right? So, hey,
So let me ask you
elections have consequences.
this. And we're
so
looking at them barely, a year
when
into
all these
it.
countries overseas see this, they start to act up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's what Putin did. Ukraine, a la Ukraine. China becoming more provocative with Taiwan.
Exactly.
North Korea, over the last couple months, has launched more missiles than it's done in its history.
Yep.
That should tell you something. And then Iran, they're expanding theirs. We're going to make some kind of deal or let Iran buy, I think it's lithium or uranium or something from Russia. Are you kidding me? We're allowing them to work with proxies because we took the Houthis off the terrorist
list, yep.
And now they're bombing Saudi Arabia.
Correct.
And Saudi Arabia's mad at us.
And won't pick up the phone
And they won't
to
pick
talk
up
to
the
him.
phone, and they're talking to China about agreeing with them that maybe the yen should be the world's currency and
right.
not the dollar.
Yep.
Which would
Which would
destroy
absolutely
us,
devastate us.
right?
Yeah.
And then you have all these other different forms of currency coming in that people don't really understand, that aren't solidified, that people think that
Cryptocurrency.
cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and all this stuff, which, hey, I don't mind if that exists, but hey, let's wait a minute before we decide that
Before
becomes,
you take down everybody else
Yeah,
and destroy
exactly.
what's been in place
this
for a
needs
while.
to be looked at, and we have non-national security experts
Mm-hmm.
that don't understand diplomacy, that don't understand information, that don't understand the military, don't understand the importance of economic strength. You can start a war and you can stop wars with economic strength.
Correct.
Right? You can,
Mm-hmm.
right? This whole idea about the military and this and that and the other thing, hey, that's fine. You need a strong military to back it up. But it's not the military, particularly in our society, that starts wars. It's politicians,
Correct.
right? And they start war because they get us in economic binds, right? Or they get us into diplomatic binds.
Right.
And so they got to be much better at their job. And the only way you get better at that job is if you understand what it takes to do that job. And this administration has no clue. Look at what Putin did. Look at Afghanistan. Look what we're doing with China in Asia.
Correct.
China has built islands throughout the South China Sea,
Yep.
and now they control the whole thing. And we just sat there, mostly under the Obama administration, going, do, 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 do. Oh, that's nice. Hey, that's a nice island. Geez,
Yep.
maybe I can
Well,
visit.
wasn't there a congressman that said, you know, if they put too much equipment on one end of the
It was
island,
Guam.
it would tip over?
We were having a conversation, right?
Oh, Lord.
Navy Admiral was talking, and he said, well, won't that cause the island to tip over? You know, the Admiral handled it professionally.
Oh, he did. He had a wonderful answer.
But
But
you
this
know,
shows
I don't think
what
I
we're
could have been
dealing
as,
with is nice.
It does. You know, I mean, it does. We have an imbalance in national security that's causing all of our problems here. And if we untangle that and we do the right thing in the homeland and we strengthen ourselves here,
Correct.
and we can do the same overseas. And we prevent a lot of this stuff. Listen, we wouldn't be in this mess, like it or not, like him or not, if President Trump was president.
Correct.
We wouldn't be energy dependent. We wouldn't have this inflation. Putin would have never invaded Ukraine.
We wouldn't have open borders with terrorists coming
right,
across.
We wouldn't have open borders. We wouldn't have all this mess that we have over here right now. And we would actually be focusing on things that perhaps could move the football down the field a little bit more with our family structure, our communities, our education, and stuff like that. But no, we're consumed with bad policy and strategy, weakness, no inspiration whatsoever. Nobody is forced to come together because, quite frankly, a lot of these people can't even talk about it.
No.
Why can't they talk about it? Because they're not
knowledgeable.
morally sound themselves.
Correct.
Right? They've been doing all kinds of bad things at our expense, making a career out of it and becoming multimillionaires and in some case billionaires at our expense.
At our expense, exactly.
And that has to stop.
Wow, this is brilliant. Well, we've got a couple of minutes here, so before we stop and go into the next half of the show, talk to me about the commander-in-chief. Let's talk about the branches of government, just a real quick overview. Now, as I understand it, that the commander-in-chief, the President of the United States, his job first and foremost is the protection of the United States of America and its citizens. I don't see that happening.
No.
So therefore, you're not doing your job. You didn't follow your oath of office. You are not following the Constitution. And you're basically handing over your authority, which again is against the Constitution. You're allowing unelected, appointed nobodies to do your job or to set the agenda. Am I correct?
Oh, you're absolutely correct. First of all, he's not doing his job. The vice president isn't doing their job. And members of Congress aren't doing their job. Particularly the person I'm running against, Maggie Hassan, who is going, who is 100% behind what the president is doing. And it's absolutely wrong. So you have this malfeasance going on. You have these people just colluding for their own benefit, for their own reelection.
Or just standing there doing nothing.
Yeah, they're just being quiet.
Which is complicity.
Which is just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as bad when you don't speak up and you see something wrong. It's called moral courage, right? Speaking up when everybody's watching. That's a hard thing to do, to stand up when everybody is on one side and then you got to step out and be the only one on that side and make an argument for us, the people.
Correct.
Because everything they've done has hurt us.
Which is what we saw on C-SPAN on the hearings for the latest nomination for SCOTUS.
That's right.
We saw a number of senators stand up and speak out for the people, for what was right and wrong, for what they were seeing was going wrong.
Well, first of all, when you look at it, you got to say to yourself, the process to pick her was wrong. And un-American.
Was there a process?
Well, yeah.
He said,
Black,
I want her.
Female.
Oh, I was going to
He said
simplify
that
it more.
during the election. He said it in president. So, he said it while he was president, and so he picks a black female. Great. Okay. That's fine. But you excluded
Correct.
everybody else. And that's not the American way.
It's kind of like a no-bid contract, isn't it?
Think if President Trump did that, right? Oh, my goodness gracious. If that was his criteria, wow. It would be
He'd have
the end
been
of it.
impeached a third time.
It would have been a third impeachment, right? So, process foul, number one. But, okay, she gets there. So let's look at her on her merits. judicial experience, character and integrity, judicial knowledge, but most importantly, how do you feel about our Constitution? As a Supreme Court justice, do you think it's the law of the land? And will you make all your decisions based on the Constitution and not legislate from the bench and not become political? Because let's face it, it's political theater, right? Republican president will nominate a conservative justice and a Democrat president will nominate a liberal justice, normally to replace a liberal justice or what have you, and boom, the theater begins, right? Well, it's got to be much deeper than that. And as a U.S. Senator, I get an opportunity to sit down with her and talk to her one-on-one. And I would ask her these questions. So I would already know, based off of what I heard, it's a no vote from Dawn Bolduc because I don't trust her judicial philosophy.
Correct.
Right? I don't trust it, and I don't think it's consistent with the Constitution, and I do believe she'd get political, and I do believe she tried to legislate from the bench on social issues, which is what we don't need. We don't need the judicial branch doing the job for the legislature.
Correct.
And that's what we find is happening, and that's where it goes wrong. Three separate, co-equal branches of government. No one part has the say. And it's become, oh, the Supreme Court said it. Well, I guess we got to do it.
Correct.
Well, why? I take exception to that.
Yeah.
I'm a legislator. I'm co-equal. Really?
Right. Three
I don't
co-equal
believe that
separate
that's right.
branches.
Right. I believe that you're legislating from the bench, and that isn't a constitutional decision.
No, you're allowed to opine. You're allowed to have
Right.
opinion. You're allowed to interpret.
Right.
But you don't make law. You don't
That's
exactly legislate,
right.
and that's
but
what you
we've
mean by
allowed
that.
that to
Correct.
become a de facto way of how
Correct.
we approach business, and it becomes law of the land, right? And, we give up our rights, and it's very, very hard to get them back. And so you need people in elected position that understand how important our rights are. And they're important. I'm the vanguard of those. I believe that as an elected official, I've been elected to be a vanguard of your rights, to protect them, not circumvent them, not look at them as something that I can use for my benefit or, against you, right? So that's important.
On that note, we're going to pause and we're going to come back. I think that was a nice, strong note to end on. So we'll be right back with Dawn Bolduc, General Dawn Bolduc, who is running for Senate against Maggie Hassan in the state of New Hampshire. Welcome back. You're joining me, Jocelyn, on Chit-Chatting with Jocelyn, and my fabulous guest, Dawn Bolduc. We are going to continue this conversation. As you know, I always do my interviews as a conversation. I'm a regular person. I don't pretend to be brilliant. I don't pretend that I want to trip anybody up. We don't have time for that. I know that you're busy putting food on the table. You're working. You're taking care of your kids. I did that for the last 30 years of my life. Now I have a little bit of luxury to be able to do this and talk to people, to discover what's going wrong in our world. We can't just stick our heads in the sand and say, well, to quote somebody that we all know, Keith Hansen, you can't look right, you can't look left, you got to look straight in the eyes of somebody else or in the mirror and say, what am I going to do about this? What can I do about this? It could be as simple as making phone calls to your senators, to your congressmen, or your reps and say, I don't like what you're doing. I don't agree with what you're doing. Be respectful, be polite. You work for us. And I don't mean that because people say, I pay your salary, you have to do what I say. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have to understand the hierarchy, the way it started with the founding fathers. And until the Constitution is amended and we, the people, vote on it with a 2/3 majority, it is how it was written in 1783. That's the way it is. It's interpreted as it was written last and done by our founding fathers. Till it's amended and voted by us, it stands that way. And you can't say, and I'll give you an example of the voting machines, well, it's 2022, Jocelyn, and it's really hard. We can't just sit there and count all the ballots. The Constitution of the state of New Hampshire, which is what we're talking about, we're a sovereign state. It supersedes everything. It says the moderator shall, important word, shall, sort and count the ballots in an open meeting in front of the town clerk and the selectmen and or council people. It doesn't say, and when technology gets better, we're going to get some machines and we're going to let it happen the easier way and we're just going to slide those little suckers through. No. It says sort and count in an open meeting. That means by hand. You don't like it? Then we, the citizens, inhabitants, not residents, inhabitants of the state of New Hampshire, go to our reps and legislature and say, we would like to help you. We would like to streamline this process. Could we entertain the fact of having voting machines? They go forward, investigate it. We double check their numbers and they say, yes, this is a good idea. Now you can all vote on it. Y'all can go vote on it. But we've not been given that opportunity. In the state of New Hampshire, they got these machines on a trial basis. It's now been 35 years. That's not a trial basis. But that's the example that I'm giving. So now that I'm going to get off my little rant, we're going to go back to Don Bolduc and let's talk about the state of New Hampshire, which I just started on. I'm going to be positive. When you become senator and you replace Maggie Hassan and you go to Washington, what are some of the first things you will do?
Well, the first thing I will do is I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call Senator Shaheen. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm here. We both come from the same state. Let's work together to the best of our ability to do the right thing for Granite Staters, do the right thing for Americans. And you have to know that my default mechanism is always going to be what's right for the Granite Staters and what's right for Americans. I don't care about your party, and I certainly am not going to be controlled by my party or any one individual in my party. I am here, and I am putting my guide on, my flag in the dirt as a indicator of change to where we work for the people, not the other way around. And that we do what's best for them and not what's best for us. And I'm going to have this conversation with her. And then I'm going to have that conversation with whoever the majority leader is in the Senate. And the minority leader in the Senate. And I'm going to make sure that my colleagues understand what my priorities are and that I cannot be bought and that I got elected because of my grassroots campaign philosophy, bottom up. And I made promises to Granite Staters, which I will keep, right? And that is to do what's right by God, to strengthen the family, to strengthen education, and to strengthen our communities. And I believe the best way to do that is to get the U.S. government, federal government, out of their way in as many areas as we possibly can. We have a bloated government. We have bloated, bureaucracy and institutions and all these things. We have really clamped down and taken control of people's lives in a way that is not beneficial to the growth of the Granite State, to the growth of America. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is lay out my philosophy, right? And that I am a leader that was sent down here to do the business of Granite Staters. And first and foremost, that's what it's going to be. And I am going to be a guy that will do my business by walking around. I will not send emails. I will not send texts. I will not send letters of protest. I will not object through letters. I will not lead through newsletter, right? I will be a management by walking around guy, a Abraham Lincoln type. Most of the business that can be done in Washington, D.C., you can walk to as a United States Senator. I like walking.
Why not? Yeah.
I like exercising.
Well, face-to-face is the best, isn't it?
It is the best.
You have to look somebody in the eyes.
We have to have that, we can't be too busy to do the business of the people on behalf of the people directly with them. And then the second thing I'm going to make known is we have a congressional calendar. And on that calendar, last time I checked, 242 days were dedicated to constituent support. And I am going to dedicate all 242 days, and I'm going to milk as many other days out of that as I possibly can. I'm not going to Washington, D.C. to buy a house, buy a condo. I'm going to rent a room, and I'm going to, that's what I'm doing. I am there part-time with a full-time perspective on the Granite State. I'm going to operate as if the 17th Amendment doesn't exist, that you can recall me like that for not doing the job for you. And I will come back to New Hampshire, where I have already a wonderful grassroots infrastructure put in place. I have over 900 volunteers. You could take everyone running in the Senate race right now and combine them, and they don't have over 900 volunteers. I have been doing this for 3 years.
Yes, you have.
I know where people are. I have my county chairman. I have people that they've coordinate with below that in the cities and towns. We're connected across county. And I will go to every single county when I come back, and I will meet with people, and you will know this. Your U.S. Senator, Don Bolduc, is going to be at this location at this time. Come and see me, and we will talk. I will tell you what I know. You will tell me what you want me to do. We will have a good exchange, because that's part of working for you.
Isn't that called redress of grievance?
Yes, of course.
That we get to do that
you
directly
get to do that
with you?
directly with me, right? And then I will take that back, because a lot of people say, what you're only one of 100. No, I have 1.3 million people here in this state that I can leverage, right? And yeah, we all have differences. We're all feel strong about one issue and less about another issue. And some people only have one issue that they're concerned with. But at the federal level, I want to make sure the federal government does everything possible to ensure your economic prosperity. Do everything possible so that every penny that we spend is fiscally responsible.
Yes.
We can't live with a $30 trillion deficit.
Correct.
We can't.
No.
We can't
It's
live.
not sustainable.
Yeah, we can't live without a budget, without a budget that's passed on time. The president issued his budget, priorities the other day, very concerned with those, but he issued them for, FY, fiscal year 2023. We don't even have a budget for FY 2022. We're still on a continuing resolution. And that's very dangerous, because the government doesn't run completely and fully and effectively on a continuing resolution. It's very, very dangerous.
Neither does any family.
And they haven't paid. Yeah.
So why is that any different?
We don't run.
No.
And so the other thing is, nobody in this race has ever had to deal with the federal budget. I have.
How so?
Well, I was responsible for it. I was responsible for it at every level of command, to include at the strategic level in my division command, where I had billions of dollars of equipment and anywhere between $250 and $500 million operating budget, and I had to follow the same budget process that senators follow, that members of the House of Representatives follow, with the timelines and all the associated things with it. The difference is I had to account for every penny. They do not. And I had to have it in on time. And they do not. They haven't had it in on time since 2006. It's the last time we've had a budget in on time. That is wrong. And that is another priority. Fiscal responsibility at the federal level is hugely important. And right now, it's not there. Maggie Hassan hasn't met a bill that she doesn't like, as long as it spends a lot of money.
Our money.
Doesn't have to solve a problem.
Right.
Hence, we still have an opioid crisis that's even worse.
Correct.
We have an immigration crisis that's even worse. We have a border crisis that's even worse. We have a
Crime.
supply chain issue. We have crime issues. All these things that she's responsible for, sitting on the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate, are all not running like they're supposed to. It's hurting America.
It is, and we have people on these committees that have no experience. It's
None.
a quid pro quo.
Yes.
You do this for me,
Right.
I'll give you this position. We're looking at the speaker, because you'll be a senator, but we're looking at the Speaker of the House, and if you genuflect and bow the knee and you do X, Y, Z, you get this position. It's the same in the Senate, and that should not be. The people with the expertise, as in any business, any true business out in the real world, you must have the training, the credibility, and the experience to be on that committee or run that business, to be that CEO, because that's basically, you're all CEOs.
Yeah, good ideas for the American people aren't limited by, political party, right? And so what we've set up inside the Congress are business rules that don't work, right?
Correct.
4 people are in charge: the majority leader and minority leader in the Senate, the Speaker of the House and the minority leader in the House of Representatives. Those 4 people make the decisions for everybody. They also decide who sits on the committees. And so we've gone from a process where committees work to make the best decision possible on legislation to 4 people.
Correct.
And then they decide which bills get heard and which bills don't get heard.
Yep.
And so this idea that we're doing the best job for the American people is limited by political party bickering and, establishment, fighting back and forth, which gets nothing done for us, waste money. Hence, we don't have a budget. Hence, we have a $30 trillion deficit, and our national security at
Is in
home
the
and abroad
toilet.
is in the toilet.
Yep.
So
And
this
if you
is all
look at
bad stuff.
It is. The thing, those 4 people that you're speaking about, let's say 4 people that you're speaking about are appointed.
Right.
I didn't elect them. You didn't elect them.
But they're making decisions for people of New Hampshire.
And they're making decisions for the legislature
Yes.
and the Senate of,
We'll tell you how to vote.
when did they all be?
And if
who
you don't
died
vote
made
that
them
way,
king?
we'll crush you.
I mean, we're looking at multiple dictators in and I'm not kidding people, we are looking at multiple dictators in our state government, in our federal government, which is why we broke away from the King of England. That was the whole point. And what are we looking at? Multiple kings and queens. And you're not my leader.
They don't even work together, right? You made a point there, and there was something that I wanted to interject. Yes, here it is. The other process that needs to be fixed is the omnibus process.
Yes.
This idea that you pile on to a bill, and then the next thing you know, it's 6,000 pages long. It hits your inbox at 3 a.m.
And you vote on it at 8 a.m.
Yeah, and then the whole concept of, well, we'll vote on it and then we'll read what's in it, which is a famous thing that Pelosi said.
Yep.
Is absolutely wrong, irresponsible, and not doing a job. The idea that some of those bills still have the watermarks of the lobbyist firm that wrote the bill for the member of Congress, which is absolutely wrong, right? And, in my opinion, we got the time, it's one bill at a time.
Correct.
We got a veteran bill. This veteran bill is very important. Well, that veteran bill shouldn't become a 6,000-page pork bill, because
Correct.
I'll vote for your veteran bill if you vote for
this.
this
Yep.
bridge
Tit for
and this
tat.
park and this thing for me, blah, blah, blah. And that's absolutely wrong. That's how we get into all these problems. And that has to change. And people are like, well, how are you going to change that? Well, you change that
You just stop it.
by getting the right people down there that are going to fight against it, right? And is it going to be easy? No. But this process that we see today that's so dysfunctional for us is, and it's why I'm running, because I'm part of you. I see it. It's dysfunctional. We came home. We're like, what is going on here, right? At the local, state, and federal level, it's a mess.
Yep.
And we have that on the governance side. Remember, we had that on the national security side, where the federal government, state government, local governments weren't coordinating, weren't sharing information. And what happened? 9/11.
Correct.
So then we tightened it up, right? Thank goodness we haven't had a 9/11 since, and we got great cooperation at the federal, state, and local level. Well, you need that in governance as well.
Correct.
Right? My thing is the most important level of governance is local. But we've gotten so complacent, right? And we've just said, I don't have time for that. I don't care. It doesn't matter anyways. I hear that all the time. It does matter. You matter. You can make the difference. It's time for a call for action. It's time to come together and change what we don't like. And when
Which we have the right to do as the employers.
it is absolutely our right. It's in our state constitution.
Yep.
It's in our federal constitution.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know that New Hampshire's constitution was kind of a framework for the U.S. Constitution. You know, all the rights that we had in 1783 that were codified pretty much are mirrored in our own Constitution. And our Constitution is the bulwark document that solidifies us, our rights, our freedoms, inside a government that works for the people, not for themselves.
Correct.
You know, the idea that because you're a senator or you're a representative, that somehow that title places you above people
Correct.
is wrong.
Correct.
That title gives you accountability and responsibility to people, and it's their title, right? I think one of the biggest legacy things that we have here in New Hampshire that we need to get rid of is this idea that we refer to the governor as His Excellency. You know, George Washington had a debate on what shall we call you? What shall we call the president, right? And John Adams wanted to call him His Excellency, right? And Washington said, no, you'll call me Mr. President.
Right.
And that's the way it should be. We do not have royalty. No, you know, this idea of political families and this idea of lining up behind people, this idea
Your turn, my turn.
of succession and I pick you and you pick the next, blah, blah, blah. It's all wrong. It's inconsistent. I go into tilt mode. I wasn't raised that way here in this Granite State, and I didn't serve my country for 33 and a half years, and I didn't get sent to combat, for 81 months in my career, lose 72 service members to come back and find my country doing the opposite of what they sent me to other places to do.
Exactly.
That is wrong. And it doesn't honor the fallen. And it doesn't honor our Declaration of Independence. It doesn't honor our Constitution. That doesn't mean we were perfect, because we weren't perfect. And we're not perfect. But we should strive to be better and better and better. And that's what this document has allowed us to do. And that's why serving in 3/4 of the countries in this world and meeting people from every walk of life and having to talk to presidents and vice presidents and heads of state and ambassadors and working at every single level in our government and outside our government internationally, I have come to realize that everybody thinks this country is the greatest country in the world. And we have right now an opportunity to either make sure that that continues in 2022 or go in the other direction, which is where a lot of people want to head us.
Correct.
And it's a mistake.
Yep.
I'm telling you, it's a mistake. I've seen it, right? And all these people that get all up in arms, listen, have you ever been in a refugee camp? Probably not. I challenge anybody that I'm running against to tell me that they were in a refugee camp, that they saw things that would almost make you puke, the smells, the terrible conditions, holding a baby,
The poverty.
walking up to a baby covered in flies, having a baby die in your arms, or trying to help a baby and then coming back the next day only to find out that baby has died, and they're having a funeral, and standing there and grieving with people that you had just met that you don't know. These are terrible conditions, right? And our border policies are setting up those conditions to happen on our own border.
Yep.
And that should never happen, because I've seen it in too many other countries. And so what Maggie Hassan has done is wrong. It's wrong. And what she is doing is wrong.
Yep.
And what the president and his administration is doing
Is wrong.
Right? It's wrong. And it needs to be called out. And nobody wants to call it out. I'm calling it out. It is wrong. I know it's wrong, and I know why it's wrong, because I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen what happens. I've seen what happens in places that don't have police officers and don't have safe areas and what happens to families. You know, I've seen what happens in combat environments. I've seen what happens to our own people in combat environments. I know what's happened to me as a result of combat. I know what happens. I know the destruction. I'm the last person that wants to go down to Washington, D.C. and get us involved in war. I believe there are other ways and other options to keep us out of it. And everything this administration has done has led to war or a backfire or unstable conditions, whether it was the disgraceful withdrawal from Afghanistan, which has caused us problems American people have forgot that they exist out there. And what Iran is causing us, and what North Korea and China and Russia and all of this stuff going on, it's all interconnected. And so these things I have experienced. These things I believe I can go to Washington, D.C. and help you. As a Granite Stater, as a mom, as a dad, as someone who cares about their family, because I'm going through it with you.
Yes, you are.
I am with you. I am in the community. I am part of the community. I have seen it.
Yep. You are us.
And that's why I'm running, because we need a representative of us. And trust me, I won't get lost down there.
I don't think so.
I won't wander off the path.
Right.
Trust me, I won't. And if I do, you got to slap me upside the head. But I know I won't, because that's not what I do.
That's not who you are.
It's not who I am, right? I'm not perfect, trust me. And I will make mistakes and I don't know everything. That's why I need your help. When have you heard anybody in office say, I need your help? No, they just tell you what you're going to do.
This is what we think, this is what I want.
And we see it in the federal level. And it's wrong in both areas. We need different people. And we got to make a change. And 2022 is where we need to do it. And we need a call for action to bring people together and say, enough is enough. This isn't right.
I agree. And we need to, in finishing up in this last minute and a half, we need to work at the grassroots. We need to work directly with candidates. We need to stop handing our money over to the RNC, the GOP, the DNC, and all the LMNOPs. The money needs to go directly to the candidates. You need to speak with people like Dawn. We need to speak with people like Julian. And we need to speak with people like Karen Testerman. Speak to them all, a heart to heart, not, oh, I want to have a beer with them. Oh, I want to go running through the fields with them. No, we need to know what your heart and soul is, what your guts are, what you're actually going to do, and how hard you're going to work, and who you believe in. And you've told us you believe in us, you believe in the Constitution, you believe in God, you believe in family, you believe in country.
It's all very simple, right? And it's all totally American. And it's what other people want as well. And if we can lead that way here, it will catch on over there. I saw it over and over and over again. But yet we continue to default back to trying to re-engineer something that doesn't need to be re-engineered. It just needs to be promoted and strengthened and led properly and nurtured. And we can do that, because that's what freedom is all about.
It is. So tell everybody how they can reach out to you, what your website is, and
sure. My website is www.donbolduc.com. You can go to that, and you can volunteer. You can send me. There's an info tab there. You can send an email. You can certainly donate. I meet with people for coffee. I meet with people for lunch. I go on morning walks with people. I do whatever it is I need to do to earn people's vote, right? This is about messaging, not about money.
Correct.
If you make it about money, you're going to get the same old people doing the same old thing. If you make it about the message and the person and the experience, you're going to pick the right person and make them work for you. And I will work for you.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming again, as always, the greatest guest and telling the truth, and that's what it's all about. No more lies.
No more lies.
No more lies, knowing where you stand. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And with that,
Victor fell asleep.
He's fast asleep. He must be comfortable. So thank you for joining us again on Chit Chatting with Jocelyn. We'll see you next week. And remember, Don Bolduc, we want granite staters, we want constitutionalists, we want great men and women. See you next week.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.